Hey y'all, I'm Tammy, and this is Collard Valley Cooks. Today we are making a peanut butter cake. If you got a peanut butter lover in the family, boy, this is a great dessert for them. We're gonna get started. So we're gonna start out making the cake, and when you make a cake, you always start with your shortening and sugar, or your butter and sugar, or your shortening and butter, whatever you're using. So we're going to start with half cup of butter, and it should be room temperature, and a quarter cup of shortening. Normally a cake has a cup of butter or shortening, but because we're using peanut butter, it has oil in it. So that's why you're only using a quarter cup. We're going to mix this till it's nice and fluffy. Then we're going to add 1.5 cups of sugar, and then our eggs one at a time. We'll be using 3 eggs, 1.5 cups of sugar. All right, let's get started. We've put in a half cup of butter, a quarter cup of shortening, and 1.5 cups of sugar. We're going to beat that until it's nice and fluffy, and then we're going to add our eggs. Three large eggs. There's 1, 2, and 3. We're going to add these one at a time. It's going to be so good, y'all. Really delicious. Okay, I'm going to tell y'all a couple of things. This is in our 4th cookbook. It's called Peanut Butter and Jelly Cake, okay? It's on page 85. Now, the special thing about this cake is you can ice the top of the cake with a jar of jelly, all right, and make it really pretty. Today, I'm just making a peanut butter cake, so I'm omitting the jelly. But remember that my peanut butter and jelly cake, you can make a peanut butter cake out of, all right? We're going to add a cup of peanut butter. I'm going to use half and half, and I'm going to use half creamy and half crunchy, all right? So that's a lot of peanut butter, y'all, a lot. So you got a cup of peanut butter. And you can see the oil laying on the top of it. Let me get me a clean spatula. I don't want anything to get in my peanut butter jar. Okay, now we're going to add half cup of creamy into here and half cup of crunchy. So of course I'm using Jif. It's my favorite kind of peanut butter. Tastes so good. We're going to open up this crunchy peanut butter and get us a half cup out of it. It's extra crunchy Jif. You don't have to use half and half. You can use all creamy if that's what you would like to do. I would suggest, though, that you don't use a heaping, cup when you're measuring, because it's already a lot of peanut butter going in this cake. And I don't think you should put any more than what I'm calling for. All right, and now we're going to mix this until it's nice and fluffy. Now I'm going to add my half cup of water so that I can use this same measuring cup to measure my buttermilk. And that way I only have to get one dirty. This cake has buttermilk in it. So I'm going to put this cover on here so that it doesn't spread the flour all over the counter. And get my flour over here next to the mixer. I can be ready. We're going to go ahead and pour up our buttermilk, and we're going to add our flour and buttermilk alternately. So it's 1.5 cups of buttermilk. And this is a 1 cup, so I'm going to put in a cup, and then we'll add another half in just a second. All right. And then 2 cups of flour. That's all there is to it, y'all. 2 cups of flour. We're going to go ahead and add a cup of flour. Turn it on. And then we're going to add the rest of the flour, which is 1 more cup, along with the 1.5 cups of buttermilk. One more scoop of flour and 1 more half cup of buttermilk, and we're done. Simple to put together and delicious to eat. Now we're going to turn it up to a medium speed, and we're going to beat it 2 minutes. I'm going to walk over here and tell y'all something. Okay, these recipes in my cookbooks, the cake recipes that are homemade, are my original recipes. You will notice that a typical cake has 2 cups of flour to 2 cups of sugar. And many of my cakes don't have 2 cups of sugar if they're going to be iced, because you're going to have all that sugar going in them from the icing. So this cake has 1.5 cups of sugar to 2 cups of flour. I also reduced the oil in this cake because peanut butter has oil in it. So I put a little less shortening in it than I would a normal cake layer. I hope that makes sense. All right, this should be ready, and we can put it in our pans. You don't want to overbeat a cake. You do want to turn it up on a medium speed, and you want to beat it for 2 minutes after you add the flour. But if you beat it too long, it'll over-process that flour. And what I mean by that is flour actually, it reacts when it hits that liquid, okay? So like the baking powder and stuff in it starts to react. So if you overbeat it, it can make your cake layers not turn out good. I'm going to get a bite of it while I'm taking this out. That's so good. Now we're going to spray some round cake pans. Now, you can make this in a 1/4 sheet cake in the recipe it tells you to, but of course you can make any of my cakes in layer pans if you want to, or even in a bundt pan if you want to. It's just cooking times vary a little bit when you do that. I'm spraying these with baking spray that has the flour in it, and I'm using my favorite cake pans. You can find these on the website at www.collardvalleycooks.com. Also, the information on my mixer and anything else you see me using in here is on that website under Shop Kitchen. So y'all go shop with us. That would be awesome. And I have laid out 2 pans. These will be thick layers. And if you wanted to do it just absolutely perfect, you could always, I had a little peanut butter on this spatula. You could always weigh them and put the batter in until they weigh the same. You want to try to get them about even. I might have got a little more in this one. I'm going to save some of that, a little bit of that to eat. Now we're going to just bang them a minute and see if they're about the same level. And this one's still got more. And you want them to be about level, and that way they'll get done about the same time. We're going to place them in the oven at 350 degrees, and we're going to bake them until a toothpick comes out clean. Do not check your cakes ever until 30 minutes have passed at least, any cake, because you want it to have time to rise and you don't want to interrupt it or it'll fall, all right? So never open your oven for at least 30 minutes, no matter what you're cooking, except cupcakes. You can open the oven in 20 minutes. I finally got me some 4th of July mittens because it won't be long. I would say we're officially in the summer. Here we're having weather in the 90s and lows in the 70s, which is hot. All right, we're going to bake these. And we'll see y'all when it comes out. We're going to make some delicious homemade peanut butter icing. Okay, it's time to make the buttercream. We are going to use 1/2 cup of butter, room temperature, going in the mixer. 1/2 cup of shortening. You're going to mix these together. So you got 1/4 cup of peanut butter. And then we're going to add the vanilla and the powdered sugar, and that is it. Oh, and some cream just to make it creamy. 6 to 8 tablespoons of, I use Eagle brand milk. You can use any kind of cream or milk if you have it at home. And if you don't, use some water. Anything to wet it a little. All right, we're going to go ahead and add our vanilla. So it's telling me to use 5 cups of powdered sugar. And I may as well get my little shield while I'm at it. I washed it in between. It's got a little water under it, but that's fine. I'm going to go ahead and put in 2 cups of the powdered sugar when I start to mix. All right, here we go. Boy, it's a good thing we got mixers these days. I sure do love my mixer. Sure makes cooking easier when you got a mixer. I'd hate to have to mix up icing by hand. That would be not too easy. I may just go ahead and add all of it. Go ahead and put the whole 3 more in there. Be done with it. All we got to do is add some cream. It says 5 to 8 tablespoons of cream. 5 cups of powdered sugar. There's your powdered sugar. This is not sweetened condensed milk. It is evaporated milk. Eagle brand does make both now. If you haven't seen the Eagle brand evaporated milk, it's a different color can. I'm going to put 4 in it. Then we'll mix it and add more if needed. Okay? So that was 4. We'll do 4 more. I might do it. Hopefully it's not going to splatter us. It might. I should have used my whisk attachments. I didn't even think about it. I used the paddles. It would have been fluffier. But we're just going to beat the hound out of it and see if it'll fluff up. Get you a spatula out and see if it's creamy enough to ice with, or if you want it to be any softer. If you want it softer, you can add a little more milk, but I think it's perfect. It's really easy to buy a big box of rubber bands to keep in the kitchen. And then when you are even like bagged vegetables and stuff that are in the freezer, you can just wrap them up like that and then band them good. And they stay fresh. All right, y'all, one of our cake layers got done earlier than the other one. You can see it's pulling away from the edges, and that's what you want a cake to do when it's finished. I'm going to go ahead and pull this one out. It took it a little longer because it's full. Even after me trying to get them equal, I didn't. Not even close. But that's all right. We'll just have one layer that's bigger than the other. Took this one quite a bit longer to get done right here on the top. And I'm going to go ahead and flip this one out because it's been out just for about 4 or 5 minutes. And I'm going to flip it out on some parchment. And then sit them back up on your cooling rack after you flip them out so they don't sweat on the bottom. I didn't quite get it in the middle of my parchment, but that's all right. And just let it sit right here. And we're going to cool these all the way down before we ice them. Because this cake has got a lot of moisture in it and peanut butter, you can see my pan, how it stuck inside the pan. And when I flipped out the larger one, a little bit of the cake stayed on the pan. So I think you should actually grease these with shortening a good bit of it, kind of like you would for cornbread, so that you can make sure and get your cake out, all right? Just thought I'd give you that tip. You can mark it up in the cookbook if you've got a cookbook to grease them with some shortening. Okay, always put your thicker layer on the bottom if you've got one that's the thickest. And put your little icing down on your plate or whatever you're using before you put your cake out on it. So peel the cake off, lay it on top. And remember, you can make this in a sheet pan and just ice it in the pan and take it like that somewhere if you want to. So put you some icing on in between the layer. And remember, we used crunchy peanut butter, so when I spread this, you might see some little pieces of peanuts. No, you're not. Not in the cake, you're not. I mean, never mind. You're not going to see peanuts in the icing. I didn't use crunchy peanut butter in the icing. I'm losing my mind. I'll put just a little bit more, since we just have one in between, one layer of icing in between the cake. There you go. All right, and then I'll give you some icing tips when I put this one on. Just try to make sure they're even, stacked evenly. And put a bunch of icing on the top, okay? Don't be shy with it. The more you put on the top, the easier it's going to be to ice. And I'll show you what I mean. You're going to take this, you're going to use your pointer finger, you're going to hold your spatula always with all of your fingers and your pointer on the top, always. When you press down, you're not going to try to go even, you're going to press towards with a tip at an angle like that. And you're going to push the icing around the cake at an angle like that. And when you get to the edge, you're going to push it off, stay on top of the icing to spread it. Don't let your spatula touch the cake part, just the icing, just like that. And of course, you can add more icing as you go. And we will. I'm just going to push some over here. See, that's what's great about having a bunch of icing on the top, is you can just push it over and use it. You don't have to reach back into the bowl to get it. I'm going to get just a little extra. Now, if you got enough, if you wanted to do the peanut butter and jelly cake, what you do is you put jelly in the middle and jelly right here, and then you just ice the sides. And then you can like stripe the top of it, or, you know, just kind of decorate it if you want to or not. It doesn't matter. But a peanut butter and jelly cake is good too. And I like grape jam. But if you like strawberry jam with your peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, then make it with strawberry. But it should be a jam and really not a jelly. It's for you to be able to spread it good on the cake if you want to do it that way. All right. So let's just kind of get it even. And I'm just going to do a simple swirl on the sides where you just kind of rotate, push, and make a wave. And if you have a comb, you can use a comb to comb the sides. And if you don't have enough icing, add some. See where you can see the corner of that cake layer? Just add a little icing to it so it's pretty. All right, and then on the top, I just take it and do a swirl like this. Just like that. And now I'm going to put just a few peanuts on the top because it's peanut butter cake. These are Spanish redskin peanuts, which are my favorite kind of peanuts to have on ice cream and stuff. That's it. All there is to it. Simple, dimple, easy cake, and delicious. So if you've got a peanut butter lover in the family, this is your cake. Now this ought to be easy to slice, y'all, because we did not split the layers. It does have crunchy peanut butter in the layers, so you might hear a few peanuts crunching when you press into it. There's the cake. You can tell it's moist by looking at it. All right, there you have the beautiful cake. It cuts real easy, and you can tell by looking at these layers, they're nice and moist. This one on the top, you can tell it's just super moist. I'm going to get a bite. That's so good. Absolutely dreamy. For real, you can't get a better cake layer. It's perfectly sweetened. It goes great with the icing. I know you're going to love it. Y'all give our peanut butter cake a try. We'll see you next time on Collard Valley Cooks, where we cook like Mama did.